Hey guys, it's Chris back again with another RVI trip tip. Today we're going to be talking about pulling fuses in your towed vehicle. Now this really wasn't a topic of conversation 10, 15, 20 years ago. Most vehicles were pretty simple to flat tow, and there weren't a lot of computers going on under the hood, but as things have gotten more complex, this has become something that's very important to address because there's many vehicles on the market, not all, but many, that will require you to pull fuses. So the biggest question that we get as it pertains to this is, if I'm using something like our Towed Battery Charger Plus, do I need to pull fuses if my owner's manual says to? And the answer to that is yes. Regardless of whether or not you are using a charger, if your owner's manual says to pull fuses, you must pull those fuses. And that's because it's not always about a power thing. Sometimes it's about disabling a computer system that could interfere with flat towing. Sometimes it's about disabling a function that maybe allows you to, let's say, unlock your steering wheel. That's the case in a few instances. So it's very important, if your owner's manual says to do it, that we make sure that those fuses get disconnected, because otherwise you could have issues while you're flat towing. And again, that's whether or not you're using a battery charger. Then there are other instances where maybe you are going to use a battery charger, but you may still need to pull fuses, and those fuses may not be listed in your owner's manual. So a good example is the newer models of the Chevy Equinox. Now, typically with the Chevy Equinox, you'll require a higher amperage charger anyways, but if you do choose to use something like our Towed Battery Charger Plus that can pull up to 10 amps, there are additional fuses that you're going to need to pull that aren't listed in the owner's manual. These are just fuses that we have found over the years that when you're using our product with this car, we need to pull these additional fuses to lower the power consumption or the power draw to get it back to a manageable level. So that's usually only the case on a few very high parasitic drain vehicles, but it is important to double check that before you go down that road. And so if you have any questions as far as does my vehicle fall into that first category or the second category, please reach out to us. We're happy to help guide you in that. We want to make sure that you get the right products for your setup. So how do you go about pulling fuses? So they're located in usually a couple of different areas within your car. Some might be under the engine compartment, some might be in the actual passenger area, kind of usually over near the glove box, something like that. But in either one of those cases, what we'd encourage using is something like our mini fuse bypass. So this is just a handy tool that allows for kind of a quick disconnect, so to speak, of a fuse. So it acts as kind of a middleman. The fuse would kind of go in here. This end would connect into the actual area where the fuse goes. And then on this end, we have a little toggle switch that you can enable or disable. So again, really easy way to just flip this switch, turn the fuse off, turn it on. If the fuse is in your glove box, let's say, you can insert this and install it there and maybe route this up to the dash. Some folks choose to install it permanently there, or you can just kind of have it laying out where it's easy to get to. If the fuse is in your engine compartment, same kind of thing. You can stow this off to the side, but you can, again, just very easily flip this switch when you need to enable or disable the fuse. It's usually a lot easier than trying to stow fuses in a bag and try and make sure they get to the right spot. It just allows for a much more streamlined system. But whether or not you choose to use something like the bypass or you choose to just go kind of more of a manual method, make sure that if your owner's manual says to disconnect fuses, that you are disconnecting those fuses. And then even if you don't have to disconnect fuses in the owner's manual, it's not a bad idea to double check with us prior to either purchasing your Towed or purchasing a Towed Battery Charger Plus, or really any of our products, just to make sure you are getting the right products for your specific setup. So if you have any questions on any of this, don't hesitate to reach out. We're available by phone, chat, or email. In the meantime, guys, happy RVing.